Hello classy people, this is Josh the Top Hat Gamer, and this week I'm reviewing Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Deus Ex Human Revolution was released just over 5 years ago, and was critically acclaimed thanks to its compelling plot and RPG style that allowed players plenty of freedom in terms of gameplay. Now that a sequel is finally dropped, it's time to see how Mankind Divided stands up alongside its predecessor. Deus Ex Mankind Divided picks up 2 years after the end of Human Revolution, in a world where the human race has become wary of those with mechanical augmentations after an incident caused augmented humans to malfunction and harm anyone and everyone around them. Players control Adam Jensen, an augmented former security officer now working with Interpol in an anti-terrorist team known as Task Force 29. As emotions between augmented and non-augmented groups run high, a potential terror plot is uncovered, and it's up to Jensen to track down leads and stop the plot before it's too late. The overall plot of Deus Ex Mankind Divided is honestly not as compelling as Human Revolution's was. There's not as many twists or mysteries to keep players guessing, and while the story might not be as interesting, it's the game's solid world building and mature handling of sensitive subjects that honestly makes me appreciate it a lot more than its predecessor. In Human Revolution, it was clear that society was a bit on the fence about augmented people and their rights, but Jensen was mostly away from all of that, dealing with shady international conspiracies more than anything. Mankind Divided puts Adam squarely in the center of a societal divide in which augmented kind are treated as outcasts and bigotry is the order of the day. Having Jensen deal with bigots and a society that fears him, whether it be in conversation, riding the train, or even watching the news, gives players a real sense of empathy for Jensen and the augmented population as a whole, and makes connecting with the story a much easier process. In fact, it's much easier to connect with Jensen as a character thanks to the quality of his animations, which are far more emotive than they were in the previous game, in which Adam Jensen had all the presence of wet cardboard. Most of the characters on display are far more detailed and are animated much more smoothly than those of the previous game, although there's a noticeable gap in quality between core characters and random NPCs. Along with improved graphics, the game runs pretty well for the most part, with the odd drop in frame rate becoming a small blemish on an otherwise smooth, consistent experience. In terms of audio, Mankind Divided is generally pretty good, with most of the voice work conveying plenty of personality, especially when core characters are concerned, and the sheer diversity of accurate accents is noteworthy as well, when you consider how many games would just settle for borderline offensive Australian or South African accents. Jensen is as raspy as ever, but his distinct voice work combines nicely with his new, more emotive animations to give him some more attitude, where previously it was hard to tell when the character was being sarcastic or aggressive or anything other than, bored. Aside from the voice acting, satisfying electronic sound effects punctuate a lot of your actions, and gunfire is also pretty punchy when you do choose to turn things more violent. Underneath all of that is a rather grave electronic soundtrack that suits Mankind Divided's tone perfectly, and picks up appropriately alongside the action. But whether you experience much of the action is entirely up to you, as Deus Ex Mankind Divided's mix and match of RPG, shooter, and stealth mechanics allows for plenty of choice when it comes to approaching the game's various situations. Whether you're the type to shoot first and ask questions later, or you're more likely to ghost through enemy territory and talk your way out of trouble, then Deus Ex Mankind Divided has you covered. Mankind Divided's gameplay flexibility is helped along by the range of skills available to Jensen throughout the course of the game. Abilities that allow you to fire weapons more accurately or absorb more damage work perfectly for action-oriented players, and skills like cloaking or silenced movement are tailored to more sneaky styles. Of course, you can mix and match these abilities, and many of these have multiple upgrades, making your playthrough highly customizable. In addition to the highly customizable skills on offer, Deus Ex Mankind Divided rewards almost every action you complete with experience, whether that's finding secret pathways, taking down enemies, or even winning dialogue confrontations. It really proves that Mankind Divided is dedicated to allowing players to take any approach they want. For the action gamers among us, the shooting gameplay is fairly responsive, if a bit clunky at first. Even after choosing the game's shooter controls, switching between weapons and customizing them on the fly took a little getting used to, but once I got used to it, I found being able to change weapon attachments and ammo types at a moment's notice to be rather smooth, and incredibly useful. The stealth gameplay is just as solid as the shooting, if not more so, with competent AI making sneaking around enemy territory a decent challenge. Knowing when you're in an enemy's line of sight is conveyed effectively enough, and you're given more than enough time to escape or deal with the guard who's seen too much before all of his mates are alerted. Much like the shooting, Deus Ex's stealth gameplay can be helped along by Jensen's various abilities, including upgraded radar capabilities and the ability to mark and track enemies. The flexible gameplay of Deus Ex Mankind Divided would be nothing if the game's level design didn't accommodate it, but each map is so open with so many points of entry that you're bound to spend hours at a time in each area if you search every single corner. It usually doesn't even matter if you haven't acquired the right skills to access an area from one direction, as most areas have more than one path to it, whether that involves breaking through walls, jumping onto rooftops, or using the game's innocuous hacking mechanics. Honestly, aside from the initially clunky gun customization, I have very few complaints to make with regards to Deus Ex Mankind Divided's gameplay. The cinematic melee takedowns, while spectacular and hard-hitting, can bring you out of the experience a little bit, and the inclusion of microtransactions is a bit gross, but for the most part, the gameplay side of Deus Ex Mankind Divided gets a glowing recommendation from me. In terms of content, Deus Ex Mankind Divided continues to deliver with a decent amount of side missions to sink your teeth into, and most of these deliver the mystery and twists that I found was lacking in the main plot. My only complaint with regards to this side content is that it's very easy to miss a crucial detail or an entire side mission, and once you progress in the main story, there is no way to fix your mistakes. The game also has a side mode called Breach that involves you navigating cyberspace to collect data as fast as you can, but it's rather bland and is laced with microtransactions as though it were a free-to-play game. Best to just ignore it and stick to the main game, to be honest. At the end of the day, Deus Ex Mankind Divided is a worthy successor to Human Revolution, and though it might not have as strong a narrative, the overall polish that's been applied to the rest of the game is exceptional. I had a blast sneaking my way through the majority of the game, and I can't wait to play it again, with different choices and a different gameplay style, just because the game offers so much flexibility, and I want to experience it all over again. Deus Ex Mankind Divided gets the Top Hat Gamer rating of Excellent. The game offers so much freedom thanks to its open level design and wide array of mechanics, and its narrative, though not as intriguing as its predecessors, tells a story worth experiencing and builds a world that's easy to invest yourself in. If you're looking for a game that offers a lot of choice, or if you are a fan of Human Revolution, then you owe it to yourself to check this one out. Thanks for watching. I hope you found the review informative. If you missed last week's review on No Man's Sky, or my top 5 ways of improving No Man's Sky, click the annotations. Now if you'll excuse me, I have some throats to punch.